and thank you so much for joining us today. It's an interesting day because we are in September 2024, and I didn't know this before, but it is National Wills Month, and specifically, if we look at National Wills Week, it takes place between 16 to 20 September 2024. And with me, I am so thrilled to have Karl, and Karl Kremnitzer is from Capital Legacy, and we are going to talk about everything around wills. National Wills Week, what's important, why this is your most important signature, and just in general what to consider when you are going on this very important and sometimes scary journey. So Karl, thank you for joining us.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to having a beautiful conversation with you.
Thank you. And tell me, this is actually a special date because today is 11 September.
Yes.
And you were saying it is?
Capital Legacy's birthday. We've been around for 13 years. We've been on this relentless march of making the loss of a loved one easier. That is our vision at Capital Legacy, and truly changing the stats. And we'll touch on it during the interview today. But yeah, it's a special day for us, and everybody at Capital Legacy celebrating, having cupcakes and some free coffees. But we're on this pursuit to really make a difference.
And thank you for making a difference by leaving the cupcakes for a moment and speaking to us, because this is such an important topic, which I think most often we don't really want to think about, and we're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week, or never. So why is National Wills Week important?
Oh, it's incredibly important, right? And the reason for that, firstly, the Wills Week is an initiative from the Law Society of South Africa. It was created many moons ago, and it was this 1 week that these attorneys put aside to create awareness around drafting the wills, or the lack of drafting the wills, right? Capital Legacy has taken that further by creating Wills Month. Of course, we piggyback off the energy that we put into Wills Week, but of course we do wills for free every single day, all year round. And it's incredible, Rianette, that 70% of South Africans still do not have a valid will in South Africa.
70%.
70% of South Africans die without a valid will. And we've, as I mentioned earlier on, we've been on this incredible mission for the past 13 years to change those stats. And you know, some of the myths that exist, you touched on it, procrastination being the biggest one. Nothing's going to happen to me now. That it's expensive. Traditionally it was. I mean, if you think back to when a lawyer drafts a will, you imagine fees and billing hours, and that it's complicated. And in the past it was. But we've dispelled all of those myths. We've made it easy, we've made it quick, we've made it easily to understand, and completely free. I don't think any South African has an excuse to get their will drafted, especially during a month like Wills Month.
And to know that you're speaking to an expert, someone who really understands the relevant questions, how to do it, and also not just get the will in place, but then everything after that, taking you on that journey, because we don't know better. So it's for free. If you are one of the 7 out of 10 people who haven't done it, then today is the day, not tomorrow, today. Absolutely. To make the phone call, and we will talk about how to get in touch with Capital Legacy. But let's go further. Why is a will important for parents specifically?
Firstly, it's important for everybody, but it's even more so important for parents, right? It's our responsibility. I'm a parent of 2 boys. I know that you're a mother of a boy as well. And I always say that everything that I do, I'm building a legacy for my child, for my children, in fact, So it's my responsibility to give them certainty if I pass away. Yes. Moreover, I get an opportunity to select my preferred guardian if I should pass away. Me and my wife should pass away. And of course, another important factor that we always forget is that we get an opportunity to protect the inheritance. Yes. In South Africa, a minor child cannot inherit. So if you haven't made a provision for your child's inheritance, it either goes to the government's guardian fund, or it goes directly to the guardian, which is not protected. Yes. And so through a will, you've got an opportunity to make a provision for a children's trust, where a professional independent trustee manages your child's inheritance together with your nominated and preferred guardian to look after the financial well-being, long-term financial well-being of your child. Yes. I think those couple of points in and of itself should be reason enough for every parent to take the responsibility to get it drafted.
No, because imagine you've worked so hard your whole life to provide, to set them up for success, because ultimately that's what we want to do, is set our children up for success. And now the unfortunate thing happens and you've not considered those aspects. Like you say, then it goes into a pool that you have no control over. Correct. And your children are then, neglected in a way.
The irony, if I can add to that, is that a lot of people who pass away with no wills have life cover. They've got funeral cover. So they've broached the situation of, should I make provisions if I'm not around?
Yeah.
But they haven't tied it up in what we consider to be the most important document you'll ever sign, your final love letter to your family.
Yes.
Rianette. Remember, a will is a document that you have an opportunity to say what must happen with your assets when you're no longer around.
Yeah.
And the executor is that person who executes on your last will.
Yes.
This is your final say, your final love letter to your family. Give them clarity. You owe them that.
I love the fact that you position it like that, because it is a love letter, and to make sure that the relevant people are aware of where it's held or kept, and what does it say? So if I may ask, what happens if you pass away without a will in place? You've mentioned now in terms of some of the repercussions for children, but in general, what are the key highlights that you would like to mention?
If I had to say one word, I would say chaos, right? You can go and look it up. I mean, there's estates that are running for years, tens of decades, where there hasn't been a will, right? So when you pass away without a will, you die what is called intestate. Okay. And the Interstate Succession Act comes into play, which is basically a specific division of how your estate gets distributed amongst your closest relatives in an order of priority, right? Okay. But moreover, you don't have choice of who becomes your guardian. It could be against your wishes. You don't have a choice of who is your executor. So the court elects an executor for you. He then goes out and investigates who your family is. So you've taken something that's already difficult, losing someone, that should take 9 months to wrap up an estate, and now you've prolonged the pain and trauma to years.
Yes. Yeah.
And all you have to do is take an hour out of your day, get a beautiful bespoke will drafted that gives your family certainty. So it creates uncertainty, it creates drama, it creates frustration, and it takes something that is very difficult and exponentially makes it more difficult for your family.
Yes, and like you say, it drags it out, and we've seen the amazing ads that Capital Legacy have in terms of family disputes, and at the end of the day, it could be, or it is unnecessary, and it could be a very different result if you do the right thing. But can I ask something? Like, let's just imagine none of us know what the term guardian and executor means.
Yes.
Like, please tell us, because we know it's language that we use when we talk about wills, but what's the difference between these people and what role do they actually play?
Okay, so the executor, as in the word, executes on your final will. So that's the person who's responsible to get a letter from the court that allows to do what we call a liquidation and distribution account after you've passed away, which is in essence your final balance sheet.
Okay.
Shows all your assets, shows all your liabilities, and we have to pay everybody that you owe money to, your creditors, before the people that you're doing this for, your dependents, right? So that's the role of the executor. You can name them in your will, and ideally you want a professional executor, such as Capital Legacy, or a lawyer, or an accountant. In fact, if your estate is over 250,000 Rand, the court insists on a professional executor, right? A guardian is a wish. It's not even a legal obligation. Okay. So I've got 2 boys. I've nominated a guardian should something happen to my wife and myself. It's imperative to have the conversation with the guardian, because they could say, I would not like the responsibility.
Yes, it's huge. You can't just drop it onto someone's lap, right?
Imagine you've got 3 kids already, and then a family member lose their lives, and all of a sudden you've got 2 extra kids in the house, and there's been no financial provision made.
Yeah, that's right.
And we've had situations where guardians have stood back and says, unfortunately. So the guardian is a wish. It guides the court, the master of the high court, as to who your preferred guardian is. But it is so important to have the discussion with your nominated and preferred guardian to make provisions through life cover, money, liquid money that goes into a trust, and together with your guardian, the independent trustee can look after your family's, your child's needs.
Yeah, Carl, you're touching on something that I don't think we consider deeply or like with the relevant attention to detail, because yes, we've got a guardian, we trust them, they've got a relationship with our children, we know that our children will feel comfortable going to them, but are they financially actually also being prepared? So it's
And responsible.
And responsible.
We've had many cases where, I've inherited some money, a guardian's inherited some money, looking after a couple of kids. Naturally, they're going to use that money for all of their kids and for themselves and so on. Where, again, it's so important to set up a trust, protect your child's well-being, of course, compensate and make sure that there's enough assets for your guardian to look after your child, but you've got to protect it.
Well, it's a lot to think about, and so now you've done all the work, you've had the meeting, you've actually discussed everything, like the guardians, the executor, but you don't sign the document and then something happens. What then?
So technically it doesn't exist then, right? Because the Master of the High Court is looking for a will that is signed in wet ink, that is valid, right? And a valid will,
wet ink, so
wet ink,
not
not an
like
electronic signature,
thing.
not a copy. If it's
That's
a copy
important.
that is signed, we can litigate for that, right? But a unsigned will is as good as no will, right?
Okay.
At Capital Legacy, we are passionate about getting signed will backs. I'll invite you to our offices one day and you can come see. We've got these big screens all over the offices that basically tracks how many wills we're getting back, signed and validated, back into safe custody.
Nice.
Because that is what matters. So how many we draft, how many we get back.
Yes.
But in essence, if you've had a previous will, that becomes the valid will at the court, and if you've got no will and it's unsigned, you die intestate.
Oi.
So sign your will.
Sign your will. I mean, it's
Draft your will, sign your will, and one thing that we do is make it very easy for you at Capital Legacy. Not only do we draft your will for you, we prompt you to get our courier service to come and collect that will.
Okay.
We provide you with a guideline as to how to sign that will correctly, because if you're a beneficiary, you can't sign as a witness, for example. So we give you the necessary guidelines to make sure that when that day comes, that is a valid will that can be executed at the masters.
That's fantastic to just have the relevant advice and guidance. So are there any last practical tips for parents when it comes to their will?
We touched on a few, but I think the most important is get it done. Stop procrastinating. It's an hour out of your life that's going to give your family peace of mind, right? Keep it simple. We've seen some very complicated, this pair of shoes must go there, and that top.
Okay.
Unnecessary, right? You must remember the executive together with the masters, they're working on executing your estate. So I think the best thing is to keep it simple. Have the discussion with your family. I know it can be difficult sometimes if it's a blended family or if there's children out of wedlock. But if that's not the case, have the conversation with your family. Tell them where your will is kept, right? Include your pet. Even a pet needs a guardian. And little things like that. So practically, just get it done. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. It doesn't cost you anything. It is not complicated. Get it signed and get it in safe custody.
Thank you for that, Carl. And how do you manage, do you do an annual review of your will, or how often should you go and just double check that things are still okay? Or
my advice would always be on any life-changing events, right? So whether you got married, whether you got divorced, whether you had a child, whether you entered into a business or exited from a business. So whenever there's a major event in your life that's significant, I would encourage you to review your will.
Okay.
We again do completely free will reviews for all of our clients. And again, it doesn't cost you. We come to your house anywhere in the country. You could be in Kuruman. We'll come to you, sit you down, review your will if necessary. Funny enough, over the weekends, a lot of people, we get a lot of reviews, and then by the end of the week, they change their will back to the original way.
Oh,
so
really?
Don't be that person that changes their will every week. And you know how the old American soapies are, every time they fight with their spouse, they're removing them off and on the will. So that's not necessary. But I think any big life-changing events or any big events within your life requires a review in your will.
Okay. And one last question in terms of South African cultures, dynamics. You mentioned, you touched on blended families. How do we deal with that?
Yes. So two things quickly, right? So earlier on I said 70% of South Africans don't have wills. the stats are even higher in different demographics. I know in coloured communities, in black communities, because culturally wills was never a thing. You know, if someone passes away, the eldest would take over the home. You know, but that's not how it works. And so we as I mentioned, we're on this relentless mission to change those stats. You know, and we make it easy for everybody. We make it accessible for everybody. We've got consultants that speak every language. So yes, I think you mentioned it earlier on. You don't know what you don't know, which is why, I mean, wills, technically, you could draft a will on a napkin. You could go on Google and download a will, right? So a will is not something that's inaccessible or difficult to draft. But again, you don't know what you don't know. People don't know that children under the age of 18 cannot inherit. You've got to set up a trust. So seek out a professional, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a bank, whether it's an insurance company, whether it's Capital Legacy. Sit down. It's not going to cost you anything. Get the right advice and set up your will correctly.
And if I can ask something that is maybe a little bit on the other side of parenting, is our parents, you know, ensuring that they are also covered and that their wills are in place. Because it's not done, backdated 10 years ago. So that's just a reminder to maybe have a conversation.
It's for everybody.
That we have.
Wills are for everyone. We say as soon as you own a phone, as soon as you've opened a bank account, a lot of people think if I don't have big assets, I shouldn't get a will. If I don't have children, I shouldn't get a will. At Capital Legacy, we say as soon as you're old enough to get a will, I think the starting age is 16, get a will drafted. And especially the older you get, the more responsibilities, the more assets, it becomes your responsibility. It almost becomes an obligation. You've got to get it done because you're going to leave a wake of destruction when you do pass away.
Yes, and that's not the aim, right? We want to leave our children feeling secured and loved and actually cared for. So thank you so much, Karl, for the work that you do. Keep on doing the amazing work and helping people to go through that very difficult and traumatic time. And thank you for teaching us. And I hope that you are inspired. So if you have a will, go and review it. If you don't have one, then right now is the time to contact Capital Legacy. What's the best way?
You can go to our website, www.capitallegacy.co.za, fill in your details. Within a few minutes, we'll give you a call. We'll set up a personalized or personal wills consultation anywhere in the country, either face-to-face, telephonically, or virtually. We will then draft a beautiful will for you. And what we'll also do is show you the real cost of dying. Estate planning is incredibly important, right? So the will is that final love letter. Estate planning is you making the necessary provisions to leave a legacy behind. And, you know, dying is expensive, unfortunately. There's death and taxes, the old saying. Make the necessary provisions in estate with proper estate planning so you can truly leave a legacy behind. And, I mean, already it's the most difficult thing you're going to deal with. We're just trying to make it a little bit easier and take a bit of the frustration away. So get your will drafted, costs you nothing. Understand how much it's going to cost when you pass away. And we do provide solutions for your legacy and to allow your family to move on and for you to leave a legacy behind.
Thank you for that. Well, there's no excuse. It's not only in September, it's every month. Thank you to Capital Legacy for doing that and for you to take the next step. So let us know, how's your journey going? Did this conversation make you wonder and actually take the next step? Or are you still curious and have some more questions? Well, you know where to go. It's capitallegacy.co.za. And thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. And let's look after our heritage. Cheers.
Thank you.